Hey guys, welcome to the Manchester United News channel. Subscribe to the channel to not miss any news, leave your like, and share, you are very important for the growth of the channel. Let's go to the video.
So what is going on at Manchester United? Kaveh Solokol is here to try and help us work it all out. The board is going to meet on Thursday to decide whether or not to accept Sir Jim Ratcliffe's offer of £1.3 billion for 25% of the club. Kaveh, I've got some key questions for you about this proposed investment at Old Trafford. Here is question one. Here's a really basic question. Where's the money coming from?
Basic question, but very good question. It's the first question you should always ask when somebody comes along and tries to buy your football club. Where's the money coming from? Why do you want to buy the club? Now, if Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy the whole of Manchester United and he's spending £1.3 billion on 25%, that means he needs £5.2 billion in total to buy United. Now, with all due respect, I know he's a very, very rich man, but he's not going to be using his own money. So you would assume that he's going to borrow money. He's being advised by JP Morgan. He's been advised by Goldman Sachs. Now, JP Morgan, interestingly, were also the bank that advised the Glazer family back in 2005 when they first bought Manchester United. So they were one of the architects of the leveraged buyout that has got Manchester United into the situation that they're in. Also, JP Morgan, financial backers of the doomed European Super League project 2 years ago. So these are the questions that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has to answer. If you want to buy the whole of United, it's going to cost you £5.2 billion at least. Where is that money coming from? And if you're borrowing the money, are you going to do what the Glazers did and load that debt onto Manchester United, or are you going to pay that debt off yourself?
Fans will be very interested in the answer to the last part of that, I'm sure. Let's get to the next question I've got for you, and bear in mind they've got that big debt that you've been referring to. How will they spend the money?
OK, well, first of all, he's going to spend all this money to buy Manchester United. So a lot of that money, of course, is going to go to the Glazer family, the 6 members of the family who own the club at the moment. Also, the shareholders, around 30% of the shares in United are traded at the moment on the New York Stock Exchange. So all that money, you would think, would be leaving United. Now, Sheikh Jassim of Qatar said that if he'd bought United, he'd put aside another £1.4 billion to invest in the infrastructure and the team, and he was going to clear the debts. The debts are now almost £1 billion. So what is Jim Ratcliffe going to do? Is he going to pay off those debts of almost £1 billion, or is that going to be restructured by JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs as well? Also, we know he wants to redevelop Old Trafford. Old Trafford is in desperate need of redevelopment. How much money is he got for that? Who is going to pay for that? Is it going to be his own money, or again, is it going to be money that he's going to borrow? And if he borrows money, who's going to pay it back? Is he going to pay it back? Ineos going to pay it back? Or are Manchester United going to be saddled with that debt going forward? Also, the training ground needs work doing on it. On the pitch as well, I know a lot of money has been spent on players, but United have fallen behind other clubs. In the transfer market, they cannot buy the best players at the moment because they can't afford to pay those players the top wages that they can get at other clubs, like Manchester City, for instance, like Chelsea, like Liverpool, like Arsenal. So investment needed on the pitch and off the pitch. Where is the money coming from? What is his plan for the future of Manchester United?
And again, questions that fans are desperate to know the answer to. And likewise with the third question I've got for you, which is this one. Who's going to run the club? Is it going to be the 2 guys either side of Sir Jim, or will he have some control?
We don't know. Nobody is speaking. I can understand why Jim Ratcliffe is not speaking, because he signed a non-disclosure agreement. So he's not allowed to speak during this process. The Glazers, we know they never speak anyway. Who's going to run the club? What we know is that Jim Ratcliffe, as a first step, wants to buy 25% of the club. And in return for buying that minority stake, he also wants control of all football matters. Now, I've been trying to get my head around this. How is this going to work? I've never seen another club where somebody who only owns 25% of it gets to run all the football side of the operation. But that apparently is what is going to happen at Manchester United. Could there be key roles for some of the people he already works with at Ineos Sport? I'm thinking of the director of Ineos Sport, Dave Brailsford, of course, who used to run Team Sky, the cycling team. Could there be a role for the chief executive of Ineos Sport, Jean-Claude Blanc, who used to be an executive at PSG, who used to be the chairman and chief executive of Juventus? Could there also be a role for a new recruitment director, a new director of football, somebody like Paul Mitchell, who's recently left Monaco, but who used to be head of recruitment at Tottenham, RB Leipzig and Southampton? So these are all the questions we need answers to. Not we, but if you're a Manchester United fan, you need the answers to these questions because the picture is very, very confused at the moment. What United fans wanted was a clean break. They wanted the Glazers to leave and they wanted new owners to come in. And you know what? United don't need a sugar daddy because United have some of the highest revenues in world football. They just need owners who don't take money out of the club because of the debts that they've loaded onto the club for 18 years.
And you'd hope, you'd imagine that Erik ten Hag, the manager, knows a bit more about the answers to the questions than the rest of us. But what does all this mean for him?
You know what? I don't think he knows that much more than anybody else. I think Erik ten Hag today is in the dark. OK, he's got a bit more information than other people do, but he is still thinking there is no clarity. The questions I have are not being answered. I've been working in limbo for 11 months. The club has effectively been for sale. One day I think the Qataris are coming. The next day I think Ineos and Jim Ratcliffe are coming. The next day I think the Glazers are staying. I need to have some clarity. I need to know who I'm working for. I need to know who I'm answerable to. I need to know what my budgets are going to be in the transfer market. I need to know that I can buy the best players and pay them the highest wages and get Manchester United back to where they need to be. Today, the club is still in limbo. Erik ten Hag is still in limbo. He's a football manager. Football managers are pretty simple people when it comes to dealing with people upstairs. They just need to know who is in charge, who is going to fire me if things go wrong, who is going to buy me the players that I need. At the moment, he doesn't have the answer to those questions. OK,
don't go away. I've got more questions for you. But first, just have a word from somebody who knows the inside of Old Trafford on what this might mean for Erik ten Hag. It's Rennie Mullenstein.
It was a full start, for sure. And I think that, if you look at the beginning, listening to Erik ten Hag, I think he was managing his sort of expectations, to be fairly honest, but he wouldn't expect it to start like this. So they need to get the show on the road as quick as possible, and to get a run of games, good wins, to then calm everything down and get the best out of the team.
But they're not going to win the Premier League, are they?
Well, it's going to be if they do, it will be one of the biggest miracles in the Premier League. I tell you that.
Wow. Well, let's talk about the share price. What effect has the Ratcliffe news had on that today? Here's the answer.
Well, the share price, just checking now in the last few minutes on the New York Stock Exchange, today it is down about 7%. So it closed on Friday at around $20. At the moment, it is $18.63. When it opened this morning in New York, it went down by about 10%. That was just a reaction to the news that the Qataris had withdrawn their bid. Now, if you look at the share price over the past 12 months, you'll see here in November last year a massive spike. It went up from $13 to $21 in almost 24 hours. Now, the reason behind that was because the Glazers announced that they were considering selling the club. So that's why it went up so much. And then you can see it kind of flatlines until February, March this year, bids start coming in. Bids start coming in from Ratcliffe and Ineos. Bids start coming in from the Qataris as well. And it really spiked in the summer when the market believed that the Qataris were very, very close to buying Manchester United. But the process has dragged on. The share price has flatlined until we come to this massive drop near you, September 2023. Yeah. So that is last month. Why was that massive drop happening on that day. I think it was Tuesday, the 6th of September. That was in reaction to a story in a newspaper in the UK that the Glazers had decided not to sell Manchester United. So the share price dropped. That is the worst day for United's share price. I think something like £600 million was wiped off the value of the club. The share dropped by 18%. And it's kind of been going up and down a little bit since then until we got to this morning and the news that the Qataris...
That's this bit here.
Exactly, that the Qataris had dropped out. They wouldn't be buying Manchester United. That's why we've seen the share price drop again today.
You say the Qataris have dropped out, but for good? That's your natural cynical laugh that I've heard before.
Look, I think Sheikh Jassim's camp have let it be known that they are out of the process. They've withdrawn their bid. They made a bid which they think valued United at about £5 billion. To put that into perspective, that is double what Chelsea was sold for in the summer of last year. That is double United's market capitalisation. On top of that, they were willing to put in another £1.4 billion investment in the team and the infrastructure. The Glazers said no, so they've walked away. Now, is there a possibility that they'll come back? I think it's highly unlikely, but I wouldn't say it's totally impossible. If there is a late twist in the tail, the Qataris still have the finances available to be able to do a deal, but it's not going to happen. I think the Ratcliffe deal will be ratified by United's board on Thursday, and that will be that. The Qataris will be out. Another question I've been asked is, could Sheikh Jassim buy somebody else? Would he be tempted to buy another Premier League club? Information we have today is he's a United fan, we're being told. He was only interested in buying Manchester United. He's been offered lots of other clubs. For the time being, he's not interested in any other clubs.
OK. Kaveh, thanks very much indeed for explaining all that. As he mentioned, Jim Ratcliffe already owns Nice, who are going really well at the start of the season in Ligue 1. They're above PSG. They're unbeaten after 8 games, second to Monaco. They've won 4, drawn 4. But things on the pitch haven't always been positive since Ratcliffe took over, as French football expert Jonathan Johnson told us.
They have had their moments, got to a French Cup final a couple of years ago, but sort of no kind of tangible success for the operation at the moment. They have undergone a number of changes, notably with the addition of Jean-Claude Blanc, formerly of PSG and Juventus, to sort of the Ineos Sporting setup. But generally speaking, sort of on the football front, certainly as far as Nice are concerned, the project hasn't quite lived up to its initial expectations.
Thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel to not miss anything. Leave your like and comment, it's very important for the channel growth. Until the next video.